بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. From بعد, brothers and sisters, we were talking about the quality of Rasulullah's life in terms of the applied Seerah, and that was the issue of character. And we talked about the issue where I said last time that the world today runs on a different platform, and that platform is the platform of profit. So, if you ask, like I said to the people last week, that if I asked you to name for me 10 of the, within quotes, great people in the world, more than likely you would name for me 10 billionaires. You know, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, whoever, right? But the problem is, on what basis do we say that these people are great people or they were great people? So it means that the foundation of what we consider great, the criteria of so-called greatness, this is what needs to be checked, and this is what needs to be challenged, and that is what needs to be, we need to think about that and say that what if that criterion is changed? How will that affect the world? How will it affect the world as we know it, and so forth? Now that is that's the basis on which we are talking about this. Now in that context, the thing that Islam did was it changed the criterion. The criterion there also in Makkah at that time was the same, which is it was profit. But Rasulullah changed it from profit to character. So the way I say it is, I say that Rasulullah changed the definition of the word high net worth individual. If you ask someone to describe who is a high net worth individual, they will say somebody who has a lot of money. That's the standard definition: high net worth individual, HNI, who has high amount of material assets. So it's money, property, and so on and so forth. Now Islam changed that definition of high net worth individual from money to character. So effectively, Islam changed the definition of high net worth individual from Abu Lahab to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. This is the change that Rasulullah brought. Think about it in today's context and say that if we ran the world, if we created a culture and value system which put a premium not on the kind of car you drive, the kind of house you live in, how much money, bank balance you have, but on whether you are a truthful person, whether you are compassionate, how many people do you help. Supposing we change the standard, what kind of a world would we create? I mean, just think about that. That's a no-brainer. I mean, I don't think this kind of a question even needs an answer because it's so obvious, the answer. Question is, how do we get there? How do we get there? How do we get to a point where we assess ourselves and we set the standard of compassion as compared with profit? And I said to them last class, I said, I'll tell you a story, a true story of one of the Salafus Salihin, which demonstrates this. And the story is that of Abdullah bin Mubarak, rahmatullahi alayhi. Come, you can come and sit here also. You can sit here. If you need a chair, just pull a chair. So Abdullah bin Mubarak, rahimahullah ta'ala, he was one of the Tabi'een, which is the generation which came after the Sahaba of Rasulullah. Now, the Tabi'un were people who learned from the Sahaba, whose teachers were the Sahaba. And Abdullah bin Mubarak was one of the greatest of them. The story is about him. He did Hajj once, And he says that after completing Hajj and so on and so forth, people had gone, and he was sleeping in the shade of the Kaaba, in the Mataf, when he had a dream. And in this dream, he saw two angels, and these angels were talking to each other. And one of the angels said that this year Allah has not accepted the Hajj of anybody. Nobody's Hajj has been accepted. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak is also one of them who had done Hajj. Then the other angel said, however, it is because of a man, and he gave him the name of the man. And he said, this man is a cobbler. He makes shoes, repairs shoes. He said, because of this cobbler, Allah accepted the Hajj of everybody. So that's when Abdullah ibn Mubarak woke up. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak then, rahmatullahi alayhi, in this dream he had heard the name of the man, he had heard where the man was. This was a man, somebody living in Damascus. And this angel said, so and so from such and such place. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak thought to himself, let me go and find this man. Is it true? This dream I saw, is it really true or what? Yeah, so or maybe I just saw the dream. But since I have a name and an address and so on, let me go look for the man. So he traveled from Makkah to Damascus, to Syria. And he went searching for this man. And lo and behold, when he went there, he found this man is there. There is such a man. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak introduced himself, and he said to the man, did you go for Hajj this year? So the man started crying. He had tears in his eyes. He said, no, I did not go for Hajj this year. So Abdullah Mubarak said, this is a very strange thing. This is, he didn't even go for Hajj, and in this dream, this angel is saying, because of this man, Allah accepted the Hajj of everybody. So Abdullah Mubarak said to him, were you intending to go for Hajj? The man said, yes. So then what happened? How come you didn't go? The man said, it's a painful story because he said, I'm a poor man. For me, even to collect the money to go for Hajj was a big struggle. He said, for many, many years I collected the money, I saved up money and so on and so forth for me to go for Hajj. Even in those days, going for Hajj was not, there was no flight to catch. It took months of travel, it was dangerous. There were bands of bandits which looted caravans and all kinds of things. So the man said, after a lot of struggle and difficulty, I managed to save enough money to go for Hajj. And as was the custom, before they went for Hajj, people used to go around, meet their neighbors, meet their family and relatives, and request them for dua and say, please, if I have done something to you, please forgive me, I'm going for Hajj. All of this thing they used to do. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahmatullah, this man is saying to him, he said, it was 2 or 3 days before my caravan was departing, so before I was meeting people. And towards the end of the evening on that day, he said, I came to the house of my neighbor. And I knocked on the door. The neighbor opened the door. And he said, I could smell the aroma and the beautiful smell of roasting meat. Right? So he said to the neighbor, he said, I'm going for Hajj. And so the neighbor said, I said, may Allah accept your Hajj and this and that. But his cobbler said, the strange thing was that the man did not invite me to eat with him. Now, this in our society today, this looks like a strange thing, but in Islamic society, if a person comes to your house at the time of a meal, and if the meal is ready, then the norm is you invite the person to eat with you. Right? You don't just let him go. So this man says that I was surprised that this neighbor of mine, I know him, he is my next door neighbor, and there's this nice smell of cooking meat which is coming, but this man is not inviting me to eat. So he said, half jokingly, I said to the man, did I do something to you? You are upset with me or something, and how come you don't invite me to eat with you? He said the man started crying. So this cobbler, he said, why is he crying? He said to him, I'm sorry, I apologize, did I say anything to hurt you? But why are you crying? He said, you did not say anything to hurt me, I'm crying because I cannot invite you to eat with me. So the scholar said, why? He said, because what we are going to eat is halal for us, but not for you. So the scholar said, this is getting stranger and stranger. How is it that you are a Muslim, I am a Muslim, and you are telling me that what you are eating is halal for you and not halal for me? What are you eating? So he asked him, he said, what kind of thing is that? I mean, how is it that you are eating something, it's halal for you, not for me? He said, the story is that we have been starving for the last 3 or 4 days. There has been no food in my house. My children are starving, everybody is starving. And he says, today is the fourth day, after 3 days are over, in desperation, I went searching, and he said, I found a dead donkey which was lying on some garbage dump or something. So I cut a piece of that donkey and I brought it home because out of desperation, we are going to die. So he said, I brought a piece of this donkey, a piece of that meat. That is what is being cooked. He said, for us it is halal because we have been starving for 4 days, but I can't give it to you. This cobbler said, I went home. He said, I had 3,000 dinar which I had collected to go for Hajj. He said, I brought the 3,000 dinar and I gave it to the man. So I couldn't go for Hajj. Then Abdullah bin Mubarak, he said to him, Allah has accepted the Hajj of everyone because of you. He said, Allah gave you the reward for Hajj even though you didn't go. And Allah accepted everyone's Hajj, including mine, because of you. And this is a true story, and this story is recorded by Abdullah bin Mubarak himself. And the point is, this is the standard of Islam. To take care of everyone around you. And that is the, within quotes, the secret and the power of the Seerah of Muhammad Rasulullah. So when we say applied Seerah, it means in my life, how will I bring this into practice? What will I do? And that's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that the famous hadith which I narrated last time also in Bukhari and Muslim, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, he is not a believer, he is not a believer, he is not a believer. He said, Ya Rasulullah, who is not a believer? And as I say all the time, every time when I mention this, I say, just think about it. Don't just listen to the words. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is saying he is not a believer. What does it mean? Is it a small thing? If the Nabi says so and so is not a believer, what does it mean? And he didn't say it once, said it 3 times. He said, Ya Rasulullah, who is not a believer? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the one whose neighbor does not feel safe from his evil. The one whose neighbor does not feel safe from his evil is not a believer. And remember, he didn't say Muslim neighbor. He said neighbor. Whoever the neighbor might be. And this is something that sometimes we forget. Islam does not, for the purpose of good rights of people, for huququl ibad, Islam does not distinguish and differentiate between Muslims and non-Muslims. In a state in which Islam is in force, where the Sharia is the law, the rights of all people are the same. Whether you are a Muslim or not, doesn't matter. The responsibility is the same. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu was in Medina and he was going somewhere and he saw an old Jew sitting by the roadside, begging. So Sayyidina Umar stopped there. He said, why are you begging? The man said, what to do? He said, I have nobody to take care of me. I am too old to work. I can't get any work. So what should I do? That's why I'm begging. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he called his people and he got very angry and he said, how shameful it is. How will we answer to Allah? That this man, when he was healthy, when he was young, he paid tax to the state. And today, when that man cannot work and he has no one to take care of him, he has to beg. He said, how will I answer to Allah for this man? This man is a Jewish man, he's not a Muslim. It doesn't matter. Immediately he said, this man, he told the man, you get up. He said, you don't have to beg. He said, the state will give you this pension. This is the pension for you. You will get it lifelong. He said, give him a house, find him a house, set him up, make sure that this man is comfortable and he lives and his life is spent comfortable. This is the state. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, once he said that if a donkey trips or stumbles anywhere in the area for which I am the Amir, he said, Allah will question me about that. And imagine, forget people. He's saying meaning if the road is not, if there are potholes in the road or something is wrong with the road. He said, if a donkey stumbles anywhere in the area under my responsibility where I am the ruler, he said, Allah will question me about this. Today we live in a world where rulers treat the country as their private preserve, as their private property. But this is not Islam. This is not Islam. In Islam, the ruler's responsibility is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything which happens. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if anyone is pleased to love Allah and His Messenger, or rather have Allah and His Messenger love him. See this hadith again in Bukhari and Muslim. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if anyone would like or is pleased to love Allah and His Messenger, and then he said, or rather, if he would like to have Allah and His Messenger love him, he should speak the truth when he says anything. He should fulfill his trust when he is put in a position of trust, and he should be a good neighbor. Three things: speak the truth, fulfill your trust, and be good to a neighbor. And this is in Bukhari and Muslim. Again, he did not say Muslim neighbor, he said neighbor. Trust is anything. Fulfilling a trust does not only mean if you are in charge of a big organization or something. Anything, from the smallest to the biggest. Whatever you are given responsibility for, do you do that? Excuses do not change reality. So not doing something and then having an excuse doesn't serve the purpose. Similarly, speaking the truth. In another hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not tell a lie even as a joke. Not even as a joke. Because sometimes we tell, we don't consider it a lie. We say, oh, this is a joke. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not even tell a lie even as a joke. Because, the tongue gets used to that. So, for example, take bad language. People get into the habit of using bad language. A lot of times, a lot of these stand-up comedians, some of them are very funny. I mean, you like to, I like to watch them, but lot of profanity and completely unnecessary profanity. I mean, if you look at what he's saying, it's perfectly possible to say what he's saying, and it will be equally funny without the curse words. The curse words, the profanity, all the sexual innuendo and so on is completely unnecessary. There is no need for that. It doesn't add any value to that. It doesn't make it funnier or nothing. But this has become the norm. It's become the culture. So the other day I found one guy who is I forget his name, but he's a Christian, a born again Christian, who is also a comedian. Not one single curse word in his comedy. He's very, very funny. So it's doable. I mean, it's not as if the reason why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said do not even tell a lie as a joke is because it just gets your tongue gets used to that. It's like profanity. I mean, when you start using bad language, you start using bad language, and it gets to you, and you think then you use it in a wrong place and so on. If you need a chair, please, yeah, take a chair. Yeah, just no, pull a chair, no problem. Yeah, just be comfortable. If you are not comfortable, you can't listen to anything. Now, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, one day Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was sitting in the masjid, and Abu Bakr Siddiq Radhiyallahu Anhu was sitting next to him, and there were some other Sahaba there. A man came, and that man, he had some problem with Abu Bakr Radhiyallahu Anhu, and he started to abuse Abu Bakr Siddiq Radhiyallahu Anhu. He started to shout at him, he started to use bad language and curse him and so on. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sat silently. He did not respond. Abu Bakr Radhiyallahu Anhu was sitting next to him, but the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not defend Abu Bakr Radhiyallahu Anhu. He did not tell the man, keep quiet. He didn't say anything. He had a smile on his beautiful face. He did not say anything. Now Abu Bakr Siddiq Radhiyallahu Anhu was watching this thing. This man is cursing me. I have done nothing. This is abuse. And on top of that, here is the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Not only is Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam not stopping the man, not only is he not saying in my defense, he is even smiling. So after a little while, this got too much. So Abu Bakr Radhiyallahu Anhu retaliated. He said something to the man. The moment he said something to the man, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam got up and went away. Right? Abu Bakr Radhiyallahu Anhu was obviously very upset. So he forgot about this man. He went behind Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he had tears in his eyes. He said, Ya Rasulullah, what is my fault? Please tell me, why did you do this? This man is abusing me. I have not done anything. You are sitting there. You are smiling. You didn't say anything to the man. You didn't defend me. And then when I just said one word, you got up and walked away. What is my crime? What is my fault? Why did you do that? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, as long as you were silent, there was an angel who was responding on your behalf. Eh? He said, as long as you were silent, there was an angel responding on your behalf and he was making dua for you. The moment you responded, the angel left, and when the angel left, why should I sit there? He said, I also left. This is the tarbiyah that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did for the people closest to him. Imagine how hard that is. Imagine how difficult that is. It's not easy. These stories are easy to tell, but imagine if you are in that position. Now Abu Bakr Siddiq Radhiyallahu Anhu. This whole thing is happening in public. There are people watching. How hard it is. But that's the power of the unconscious in scripting our life path. How do we treat? How do we do this? What are the norms that we set in our society, in our homes, in the raising and upbringing of our children, in all of that? What are the norms that we emphasize? Because that is how our society will become. Think about what are the stories that we tell in our homes. What kind of stories? I wanted to do a project a couple of years ago. It didn't happen. But my project was to look at the different stories, what I call household legends, which happen in different communities. In India, where I come from, we have some communities which are called business communities. We've got Marwadis and we've got Sindhis and Memons and so on. You will almost never find one of them as a professional. Again, I'm generalizing, but almost always they will be business people. They will have shops. They will do business and so on and so forth. Some of them are not very focused even on education. So the children are not particularly well educated, but they're very smart business people. They're millionaires and billionaires, right? But you almost never find them as civil servants or as doctors or engineers or professionals. Almost never. I mean, there are some people. So now my point is, what are the kind of stories that are told in their homes? You got some other communities which are called the martial class, the people whose families and so on are in the armed forces. So you will have, second generation, third generation. We've got Sikhs, we've got Marathas, and so on, who are second, third generation, fourth generation in the army. So father was in the army, grandfather, great grandfather, and so on. Now, what are the kind of stories in their homes? My point is that the kind of household talk that happens, household legends, this is what builds culture. So if you are growing up in a household where constantly from the time you can, from the time you were an infant, the stories you are hearing is of business deals and clever deals that were done and how you invested a little bit and you made a huge profit and so on and so forth, you get a certain mindset. On the other hand, if you are in a family where you are hearing about education and higher education and PhDs and research and so forth, you get a certain kind of mindset. If you are in a military background family, you're hearing about wars and valor and courage and so forth, you get a different kind of mindset. If you are an agricultural family, you're looking about the seasons and the rainfall and this and that and the condition of the soil and crops and market prices, you get a different kind of mindset. So depending on that, now my point is, as Muslims, now we are going beyond all this. So irrespective of whatever your activity might be, but as Muslims, what are the stories that we tell in our homes? What are the stories that we hear as we grow up? What are the stories that our children are hearing? Because that's the kind of culture that you're creating. Many times people ask, last time also I mentioned this, many times people ask this question, they say, which country should I go and live in? Because whichever country I'm living in, I'm not happy with the culture of the society, I'm not happy with whatever is happening in the country. So, which is a good country from an Islamic perspective? Come and sit. You can bring your chair also, no problem. Assalamu alaikum. Abu, kursi डाल लीजिए, no problem. You don't need to sit on the ground.
No, I just did a chat at home and getting the kids, my brother kids.
Oh, okay. Welcome. Please. So the question is, it's not a question of which country you live in. The thing is, what is your home environment like? Because as far as building character is concerned, uh, contrary to what people believe, what happens outside your home does not influence your children. What happens inside the home influences them. Because no matter what's happening outside, the child must have a counter story to measure things against. The child must have a criterion. The child must have a standard against which he or she can measure what happens, against which they can measure their friends. We tell people don't fall in with bad company. What is bad company? What is the definition of bad company? Bad company is that which is not like what is inside my house. That must be a very clear difference. So if my child is going to somebody else's house, they are watching some stuff on television, which is bad stuff. But when they come into my house, they also see the same stuff here. Then what's the differentiation? There's no difference. So the home environment must produce something where a child, first of all, feels close to that. A child takes his or her sense of identity from that. A child feels proud of being part of that. And a child will use that home environment as the criterion to judge whatever he or she is seeing or experiencing in the outside world. And that is to me the primary responsibility of parenting. And we create that kind of environment. Many times we feel I'm sending children to school, to madrasa, to the masjid, whatever. Alhamdulillah, all of these are good things. We should do that. But these are aids. These are not substitutes for parenting. You can't outsource parenting. You can't send your children. I have the children and then I'm dumping the child on a teacher to raise for me. No, it doesn't work like that. Parenting cannot be outsourced. Parenting has to be done by the parents. Everything else is an aid. It's a tool, it's an aid, it's a support system. Alhamdulillah, good if you have that. But even if you don't have it, as long as you are creating a home environment, which is an environment which is based on ethics and values and morals, on the Islamic culture, then alhamdulillah you are in safe hands. So, what is the so this question to ask ourselves is, what are the stories we tell our children? What is it that we glorify? What is it that we praise? And why do we praise that? For example, I said, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, do not even tell a lie as a joke. Now, at home, what are children being exposed to? Are they hearing lies? Are they hearing ghibat? If they see the mother or the father, or maybe some friends come, or maybe your aunts and uncles come, and then the conversation is about so and so, and you know what that one's daughter-in-law was doing, and you know what so and so mother-in-law did, and so the whole time the child is listening to backbiting, because that's what it is, no matter what you want to call it. If you are talking something negative about somebody else, that is backbiting. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter what reason you have, it doesn't matter how you want to justify it. That is ghibat. Ghibat is to say something negative about somebody else in their absence. That's all it is. So if the children are hearing that, they are listening to that, and believe me, the child is not sitting and listening, the child is running around doing, but what is coming in their ear? This is what they're hearing. Then you come and you give the lecture and say, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala said in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hujurat, that if you do ghibat, it is like eating the flesh of your dead brother. فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. You find this disgusting. The ghibat is worse than that. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, ghibat is very bad. These two women came, they complained, Ya Rasulullah, they have a chronic stomachache, the stomachache doesn't go away. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, call them. He said, make them vomit, and they vomited out lumps of flesh. This is one of the mu'jizat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, this is what you were eating. That is why you had a stomachache. And that flesh, it was a ghibat which Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala manifested in a physical material form. Now you tell them all these stories, and what is the child thinking? The child is saying, really? So this is what is ghibat? Very nice, very interesting. So how come you are doing it? You are telling me I should not do it, but I hear you doing it all the time. Child won't tell you that. I mean, obviously the child will not say this to you in so many words, but you can bet your last dollar that child knows what is happening. Children are very smart for some. Children are very smart. They know exactly what you are doing. And your credibility goes to zilch. There is no alternative but to walk our talk. Because I say this all the time. I say children listen with their eyes, not with their ears. Not only children, people. People listen with their eyes. They don't listen with their ears. They listen with their eyes. They don't care what you say until they see what you do. They do not care what you say until they see what you do. If you do something and you also say the same thing, then that has power. But if you say something and you do something else, no power. And Allah mentioned this Himself. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Kabura maqtan indallahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh, you believe, how is it and why is it that you say something and you do something else? Why is it that you do not do what you say? And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a major issue, major problem, major sin, that you say something but you do not do it. This is the meaning of the changing of character. Now my question to myself and you is, what do you think will happen if we change this system in our lives? If we make this niyaz from now and say that in my house we will never tell any lies, no matter what. We will never do ghibat. We will never break our promise to somebody, no matter how small it is. Because that's the meaning of keeping trust. Rasulullah keep trust. And we will be good to our neighbors, because this is what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, be good to our neighbors. But sometimes I ask people this question, I said, forget about neighbors. Alhamdulillah, there are people here who pray, take for example Salatul Isha. There are people here, Alhamdulillah, who pray every single day, they pray Salatul Isha in the masjid. Right? So Alhamdulillah, very nice. Now you will notice, and this is a very human tendency, if I am used to praying in a particular place, then I will always pray in the same place. You just watch this. It's a very typical human thing. People don't change places. Usually they will pray in the same place. Now my question is, how many of you know the names of the people who pray Salatul Isha with you every single day? Huh? You are seeing them every day. You're praying in the same stuff. Maybe you're praying next to the guy. Do you know his name? I'm not even going beyond that. I'm not saying, do you know his circumstances? Does he need anything? Is there any forget all that. Do you even know his name? Because obviously, if you don't even know his name, what else will you know about him? Islamically, we need to know a lot more. Because if I say I am going to be good to my neighbor, I must know what my neighbor needs. But if I do not even know the name of my neighbor, where is the question of knowing what he needs? And again, I am saying people in the Saf because these are Muslims, these are people you are seeing on us every single day. Rasulullah ﷺ did not say Saf, he said neighbor, meaning your actual physical neighbor. He said 40 houses to the front of you, behind you, to your right, to your left. Now, when I was talking about this hadith, I thought to myself, how do I define this in today's context? Because we don't live in the Medina style housing in this world today. We live in, for example, if you're living in Manhattan, you're living in huge apartment buildings, right? So what do you mean 40 houses to your right, left, and so on? I've got houses under me also. I've got houses above me also. Rabbi Sallallahu didn't say that because they didn't live in that sort of a. So who am I responsible? Who are these 40 people? And my understanding, Wallah alam, may Allah make this correct, and if I'm wrong, may Allah forgive me. My understanding is that the meaning of that hadith is anyone I come into contact with is one of those people in the 40 house, whoever it is. So it will be the person I pray with in the masjid. If I'm driving on the street, it is the guy on the next car next to me. If I'm in the mall, it is whoever I meet in this mall. It is the shopkeeper, it's the parking attendant. Whoever I meet, wherever I meet, is my neighbor from an Islamic perspective. Meaning that neighbor has a right on me and I need to fulfill that right. Somebody sent me a very lovely video of these Chinese people. I don't know, I think maybe it's in Singapore or somewhere. They are standing in a queue for something, and a pregnant lady comes, and there's this guy standing in front, and this pregnant lady, obviously she is in difficulty because of her pregnancy and so on. So she says to the guy, can I please come in front of you? Can I please come here in front of you? Because if I go to the back of the line, it's a long line. If I go to the back of the line, it takes a long time. Can I do that? The man says, yes, please come. He lets her in. He doesn't stand there. He leaves and he goes to the back of the line. Now, see the beauty of this thing. Because if he simply lets her in, it means now everyone else has got one extra person. So he doesn't do that. He puts her there and he leaves his position and he goes and stands at the back of the line. Now, the beauty is the next person goes and stands behind him. Third person goes and stands behind him. Fourth person. The whole line completely changed. So this man is now back to where he was. Yeah? If I find that video, inshallah, I'll send it along with this recording, inshallah. It's such a beautiful video. It shows how just the action of one single person can influence so many other people. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because many times we feel this thing. You say, yeah, all of this is good, but just me alone, if I do what difference does it make? Believe me, my brothers and sisters, it makes a huge difference. It makes a big difference. Number one. Number two, that is the only thing that we can do. I cannot make you do something. I can do it for myself. I can do it myself. I can stop and let somebody else go. I can speak the truth. I cannot make you speak the truth. I can speak the truth. So if I do what I can do, then inshallah, I can influence others also to do the same. Because everyone is thinking the same thing. Everyone is thinking, it's only me. No, it's not only you. It is you, and you are important. And if you do, then you will influence other people also. And in the long and short of it is, end of the day, I am going to be questioned only about myself. Allah will not ask me, why didn't you convince somebody else? That's not a question. Even to the Nabi, what did Allah say? Uma alayna illal balagul mubin. Allah said, for you, There's nothing more than conveying clearly. Allah did not, even for the Nabi, Allah did not make him responsible to convince anybody. Allah said, you are responsible for conveying. If you don't convey, then it is your responsibility. But if you convey, whether somebody is convinced or not, is not your responsibility. Allah, this is the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the reason why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, I was sent to perfect character. I was sent to make character perfect. Now, the best of the reason for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to come, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, this is to help people and to improve their character. Now, that is something that we need to keep in mind, and therefore, to close today, 7:20 now, it's time for Isha. To close now, we will go and do the action planning of this, which is to say, what do I need to start doing, what do I need to stop doing, and what will I continue to do. So start doing is, what is it that I have not been doing till now which I should start. Stop doing is, what is it that I am doing currently which I should stop. And continue is, what is it that I am doing at the moment which is good, and I will do this now more consciously rather than maybe I was just doing that mechanically, but I now know this is a good thing which I should do consciously. Alright? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu to make it easy for us to practice the beautiful seerah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because in this there is khair and barakah, in this there is power and influence, in this there is the winning of hearts of people. We ask Allah to make us living, walking, talking models of the way of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you from all harm, to accept your du'as, to give you what you ask with khair and afiyah, and to give you what you have not asked from His mercy and grace and generosity. Bil khair. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika.